I pulled a Qiqis, lost 50-50, but Hoyoverse thinks their game is anxiety-free, they're hypocrites.
Hey, welcome! This video came out longer than I expected since it required actual research, and also I am sure it will bury all my future potential sponsorships or partnerships with Hoyoverse, so I hope you will still check it out, even if it's long. I would do a Nahida video, but I can't, because I don't have Nahida yet, because I got cheated. And yes, this was an inspiration for the intro. However, it fits the overall topic of this video, which is anxiety. And how Genshin Impact is an anxiety-free game. Right? Right? I'm sure you've heard about the interview, right? The infamous interview with the Hoyoverse dev that came out a couple of weeks ago. If this is your first time hearing about it, I will leave a link in the description so you can read it yourself, it's not long. Analyzing it in its entirety would be pointless though, since many people already did that. However, I want to talk about something that I don't see being mentioned often, if at all. Now, I'm going to be using terms like Hoyoverse said, etc. I just want to clarify that I know it was not a company statement, but since they never corrected any of it, I'm going to assume it was their official stance. Especially since it was through email, so the answers were definitely carefully crafted and heavily consulted. I'm talking to you people, who snort more copium than Kanye when he said, "Adidas won't drop me." This is reality. Don't do kids drugs. You've been warned. But of course, if you want to continue to be delusional, it's your choice. With that being said, let's start this ride, cause it's going to be a bumpy one.
I wish I had a river I could skate away on.
Alright, so I am not going to be talking about how disappointing no perspective on endgame is. We're on the same page. I am pissed off. But that's something pretty universal amongst people who care. The important part here is the reason Hoyoverse gave, which is, to quote, "If we design another type of permanent endgame that is similar to the spiral abyss, it might end up creating excessive anxiety for our players. Not everyone is interested in mass grief." Excessive anxiety.
Excessive anxiety.
Okay, this in of itself is what a lot of people noticed. I was feeling pretty ambivalent seeing a lot of content creators and players laughing at it, saying stuff like, "Imagine being stressed about the game," or "You have to be crazy to be anxious about new content." But, to play the devil's advocate for a second, Hoyoverse has a point. That's a sentence that came out of my mouth probably for the first time. So, they have a point. It's just, what they do with their game contradicts this point, making them look like massive hypocrites. Look, a game 100% can be anxiety-inducing. Don't get me wrong, I don't mean to sound like I'm your mom telling you to turn off your goddamn computer and read a book or something for once. No, I'm just pointing out the fact that there's research proving video games can indeed cause anxiety. Think for a second. If it wasn't possible, horror games would be pointless. The whole appeal of those is to make you at least anxious, if not scared shitless, as it happens with me. Toprak and Abdelmegid, I'm sorry, I'm sure I butchered that, they write, "The empirical research examines how to manipulate three basic properties of game sound, volume, timing, and source, through a game level designed to evoke fear, suspense, and anxiety." The cool part about this is there's indeed a branch of gaming research focusing on the best ways to make you anxious and scared when playing. But you're probably thinking, "Moonami, but that's not the type of anxiety they were talking about." And to this I say, it kinda is. Anxiety is anxiety, it's other emotions in the mix, always bubbling in us, that can make an anxious experience a positive one. Going on a date, for instance, although that's probably not the best example for Genshin players. Horror games or movies are one of those scenarios for people who enjoy this kind of entertainment. The player may feel a negative emotion, which is fear or anxiety, but also positive ones like excitement, satisfaction, feeling immersed, invigorated, or simply feeling good about themselves because they still beat the game when scared. Couldn't be me. Back to the game research. Another side of it is kind of the opposite. Instead of trying to make players feel anxiety, the researchers, together with game designers, try to minimize it. That's the reason something like the dynamic difficulty adjustment is being developed. In short, it means that if you feel like the game's too stressful, it will automatically adjust and make itself easier, and vice versa. It's not really seen in mainstream games because, well, it's hard to implement, as you can guess. Devs opt for an easier way, like something in League, but that's still an arbitrary difficulty. In Genshin the closest we get is world level, but bruh. Bruh. Anyway, in one of those studies about DDA, they measured physiological markers of anxiety, heart rate for instance, and adjusted the game's difficulty based on them for their test subject gamers. This is not a science video, if you can believe it, so ain't nobody got time for that. This whole section here was more or less directed to people who think games can't cause anxiety and laugh at the Hoyoverse developers' words. Now, I mentioned that I agree with that person/persons, who knows how many people worked on this interview. However, their whole point, while being true, stops making sense the moment you realize we're talking Genshin Impact. A game that wouldn't exist if it hadn't created anxiety for the players. It's crazy! Alright, so you may not agree with me on games being possibly anxiety-inducing, but what about gambling? Genshin is a gacha game, and if you don't know what it means by playing it, you agree to a contract that states you will never touch grass again, shower, or make a reasonable financial decision. Anyway, is gacha gambling? What even is gambling? There are a lot of definitions, but they are generally saying the same thing. I just got the first dictionary that popped up in Google. Here it says, the activity or practice of playing at a game of chance for money or other stakes. Wishing is definitely an activity. You undoubtedly do play a game of chance for, in this case, other stakes. The only argument you can make for gacha not being gambling is there's a guarantee system, but first of all, even if it works for limited banners, by the way, a weapon banner used to be not guaranteed, remember? On the standard banner, you are still never guaranteed to get what you want. The chances of you getting Tinari as your next 5-star are 5.88%. I didn't know it was this low. Who's sad for skipping his banner now? Anyway, slot machines also have a guarantee. It's just that it's hidden. And you can be goddamn sure a lot of gacha details would be hidden if not for laws preventing it. Hell, even if there are laws, things like how the system is quote-unquote rigged to give you on average the same amount of 4-star characters and weapons, or soft pity, even though proved by math each of us could do independently, still aren't disclosed. So surely, gacha in Genshin at least is slightly more generous than quote-unquote classic gambling, but does that even matter? One of the studies on gacha examined 117 players who had been playing gacha games for a year before they participated in the study. Yes, I am reading, I don't have it memorized. Only 34.7% of them were found to have non or low risk of problem gambling, with 40% having moderate risk and 25% having high risk. Unsurprisingly, the higher risk gamers were also in general spending more money on gacha than other groups, with 65% of them spending $51 or more every month. The participants were also examined for symptoms of stress and anxiety, and unsurprisingly again, having more severe symptoms was positively correlated with spending more. So, the more stressed you feel, the more you spend, and vice versa. Just like your traditional gambling, your grandpa knows and loves. Again, this is not a study group, so this will have to suffice, but my point here is, Even though there's much less research on gacha in specific than on gambling, we can already tell it can cause players anxiety on a similar basis. That's why I asked a minute ago, does it even matter that Genshin's gacha is more generous than gambling? And in my opinion, no, because psychological mechanisms are essentially the same. And anxiety is only one of the common grounds between them. Now, does this mean you shouldn't play the game? No, it just means you should be careful. Personal take from me, I can still appreciate the art department, the writers, my hero Yupeng-chan, etc. I buy the Welkin Moon because for me it's a good deal. I am tempted to top up to get Nahida right now, but top-ups are a ripoff, so I won't. What? It was 14 days left yesterday. Why is it 29 minutes left now? I was about to do this event. Next event, I will do it earlier. This time, I will do it 3 days earlier, not 3 minutes. Oh, this is boring. Why do I do this again? Oh, primogems. Right. Fuck. Oh, Jesus. The last event was so boring. I will do this one tomorrow. Oh wait, I have exams starting tomorrow. Guess I have to do it right now. Phew. My exam session is over. I finally have time to play Genshin. Let's try this. Wow, I really like this event. It's really fun. Wait, it's ending in 6 hours? Fuck, not again. I have to rush through content I actually enjoy. Oh, well, at least I can finally pull for your Mia. Wait, when did the banner change? Get out of my face, Scaramouche! If you can't relate to any part of this improvised internal monologue, congratulations! You're in like 1%. You're really lucky because you either have a lot of free time, or you genuinely enjoy everything Genshin puts out. In both cases, I'm jealous, man. Okay, so we all know a lot of stuff is time limited, but do you ever wonder why? I can tell you it's not mobile storage issue. I mean, this might apply to the Gapple event, but it's once a year, bruh. Even with this one, past events could be optional to download, right? Story quests from the events at least? Just like language packs or events from Tears of Themis, another Hoyoverse game I tried but gave up on it because I didn't have time for 2 games where everything is time limited. T. Martin, by the way. As for the banners, why not make them permanent? The amount of primogems required is the same, and you'd still have to grind for weeks as a free-to-play. And in the meantime, new characters would come out and you'd have to make some harsh decisions, or maybe, just maybe, just maybe, swipe.
Got permission to swipe.
But no, this won't work in gacha because while permanent banners would definitely bring a lot of money, they wouldn't bring as much money as they do when they are time limited. And while interesting events and stories would entice players to play more and maybe even attract new ones, they won't create the sense of urgency, basically forcing you to play their game now, until all this is gone. As they do now. And it's all because, well, maybe not all, not fully because of it, but it's the most important factor in my opinion. Introducing the fear of missing out, or FoMO in short. Oh, a Polish surname, the only one I will pronounce without any mistakes. Anyway, the guys, Przybylski, Murayama, Dihan, Gladwell, define FoMO as a pervasive apprehension that others might be having rewarding experiences from which one is absent. FoMO is characterized by the desire to stay continually connected with what others are doing. And, as Gupta and Sharma state, based on their analysis of other studies about it, in the internet context, FOMO is considered as a type of problematic attachment to social media and is associated with a range of negative life experiences and feelings, such as a lack of sleep, reduced life competency, emotional tension, negative effects on physical well-being, anxiety, and a lack of emotional control, with intimate connections possibly being seen as a way to counter social rejection. Not a study group, so in Razor's language, everybody experiences FOMO in their life. It can be applied to a lot of things. From wanting to be able to keep up with the Kardashians, through watching Stranger Things because each of your friends is talking about it and you're out of the loop, buying these quite expensive shoes because they're on sale. By the way, if you never go out, you don't need shoes. Stonks. To pulling for a character or playing an event because they will be gone soon. FOMO is not inherently something that will 100% lead to psychological distress, but it can do it. Since it has been utilized by companies all over the world since forever, basically, it was only a matter of time before game developers used it as a tactic to either keep players engaged or make them spend more. Just like every company does when they put stuff on sale. By the way, these are always on sale, but their price has always been the same. Another tactic to make you feel the urgency to buy them. In itself, it's not a big deal unless you're a new player without Stardust and they're going to be gone soon, so you'll do some compulsory wishes when you don't really want to. I only mention it for the sake of being thorough, because while it is connected to FOMO, its main purpose, in my opinion, is to force you to wish. Even if it's a free Acquaint Fates. It builds a habit and sucks you into gacha. The limited banners and events are far more nefarious though. Limiting a banner of course makes the character more valuable in your mind, and you're more likely to spend if you don't manage to get them before the banner is gone. Events, on the other hand, reward you primogems, among other things, which makes you want to do the events because you need primogems for a character or a weapon. And it goes full circle, but another thing it's doing is establishing primogems as a very valuable resource. Remember, in reality, they're not worth any money. If you try to estimate the value of primos in your chosen currency, what do you even take as a baseline? Welkin? Wishes from the battle pass? A pack in the shop? But which pack? The cheapest one, the one in the middle, or the most expensive one? With a first time bonus or without it? An average of all of them? As you can see, even Hoyoverse doesn't have a set value. We only say a character costs X amount of dollars, and I don't pay in dollars, so I have no idea how much, but I just know it's more than my rent. Anyway, we say it as average. It's fair, I think, and considering the worst possible scenario is also okay in my eyes. But even if we decide to do it, we must still remember that it's arbitrary. You buy pixels with real-life money. When all's said and done, that's what there is to it. And I realize it is important to say because I see a lot of people not knowing this. They can't give us 40 pulls or a standard banner 5-star on the anniversary because it will cost them too much money with so many players. The number of people who say that terrifies me. Bro, it costs them nothing. You can only argue about potential gains if you choose to, for some reason. But do you realize 40 wishes, which is double the amount they gave us, is still less than a fourth of a guaranteed 5-star? Dude, you know this, right? This argument falls apart completely when you realize that for every dollar they spend, they make like 15. Dude, you're saying they can't afford it? Oh my, the way may be going broke, for real. Instead of $1 million car, he will be forced to drive $1 million car because it won't change his situation. Maybe in the anniversary month, they would make $14.50 for a dollar spent instead of 15. Wow. Tragic. So yeah, those people do sound down to me, but at the same time, I don't blame them. The game is actively manipulating them to think primos have a real life value. Newsflash, You pay for the primos and the company giving them out is just changing a code and getting less potential profit, which is less impactful than putting albedo on a banner. Because if you compare sales, albedo, sorry for using you as an example, but albedo doesn't have the greatest sales. So with that logic, if they put a character like albedo on a banner instead of someone like Kazuha, Raiden or Hutao, they are losing a lot of money. They don't care though, because surprise surprise, they are still making a shit ton of money, and Raiden's banner alone bought a whole of Sumeru and more, I'm sure. With everything I've said here so far, maybe you can already guess what I will answer to the question of, could endgame content cause players anxiety? Of course it could. Moreover, I'm sure the current endgame content we have, and by the way, no Hoyoverse. Spiral Base is not a good place to test characters because it's always favoring the banner character and the blessing changes. I'm sure a lot of people are stressed by the Abyss. However, why are they stressed? I've already talked about it. It rewards primogems. If it didn't, next to no one would care. Some individuals, perhaps, but exceptions like that will always exist. To players stressed by the Abyss, I feel obligated to say, I feel you. I understand if you don't even touch floor 12. I understand if you feel anxious about more difficult content because you'd miss out on primogems. I get it. But the difficult content itself isn't a cause of that. It doesn't have to reward primogems. It doesn't have to reward anything except for the experience and beating your record or something like that. As I see it, it could be a game mode with progressing difficulty. This is something like the Abyss floor, but without rewards, and it would be more diverse, more interactive maybe, ideally playable in co-op. As a new player, you would always make progress, and as a endgame player, the progress would be slower of course, but you would also make it, and if the game mode would be fun and in co-op, you would play just for the sake of it. And if you wouldn't enjoy it, then you just wouldn't play it. Just like I don't fish. And by the way, I was forced to do it twice if I wanted to get a weapon. That's why I hate fishing, not because it exists, because if it just existed, I wouldn't care. But I had to do it if I wanted the rewards, so I get you. But like I'm saying, it wouldn't have to have rewards. One more thing, I am sad to see the community divided. Of course, it's not everybody, but I saw a lot of hardcore players bashing casuals and vice versa. I don't think you should do that because what a company does is not any player's fault. Sure, collectively, the choices we make and the answers we put in the polls may matter to them, but not a single individual can influence them, and said individual doesn't deserve hate just because they have a different opinion. All of what I said today makes me even more frustrated with how hypocritical Hoyoverse is. I've been probably talking for like an hour, so the outro will be short. The reason for not making endgame is fear of causing excessive anxiety. Well, I actually wouldn't mind an endgame mode, maybe some raids with my online friends, because no one I know in real life plays Genshin, wonder why. Maybe they would help me alleviate my anxiety. The anxiety I feel because your current event is not fun and I don't want to do it, but I need primogems because I put Qiqis on almost hard pity. Hey, if you're still here, I am amazed. Thank you for staying to the end. I hope this video was either helpful or fun, and by the way, I recommend reading more about gaming research because it's super fascinating actually. That's all from me for now. See you in the future. Bye!
I wanna cry, the Qiqis got me shaking. Nothing's gonna stop me from breaking. Another constellation has started glitter. I'm so sad, mad and bitter.